Hello, I wanted to share a study that I came across. It was actually done in the 60s, Northern California, by a couple of professors from Stanford University. They went around to homes and announced themselves as being that they are part of the organization Citizens for Safe Driving, and asked if they could put a billboard on their lawn that stated on it, "Drive carefully." When seeing a picture of what this would look like, the homeowners, over 80% of the homeowners declined the opportunity to be part of this program. However, the researchers were able to achieve much greater success the next neighborhood over. What did they do? So, first, they went around asking them if they would like to be part of the organization Citizens for Safe Driving, and asked if they would put a small postcard in their window advising people to please drive safely. Almost everybody agreed to that. Then 2 weeks later, the organizers came back and asked if they would mind putting this billboard on their lawn in addition to the postcard in their window. At that point, over 75% of the participants agreed to put that billboard on, even though it was the exact same billboard that the next neighborhood over 80% of the people rejected. What changed? So the researchers concluded that there's something called the foot in the door approach. The first opportunity that they started with a lower bar, and asked if they would want to be part of, be considered concerned citizens. And of course, everybody said, sure, why not? We need to put a postcard in our window. What's the big deal about that? But when they come back later and said, hey, would you mind expanding it a little bit? The people were already in the mindset of saying, I'm a concerned citizen. I'm a person who cares about safe driving in my neighborhood. And therefore, many more people were willing to agree to it than were in the first focus group in the beginning of the study. A similar idea seems to demonstrate itself in the Hamedrosh discussed in Parshas Bamidbar. The pasuk in Bamidbar, when describing the way that Bnei Israel was going to be situated, and which shevet, which tribe was going to be on which side of the Mishkan, and which shevet would be its neighbors. So the pasuk says, "Beosos lebeis avosam yachru b'nei Yisrael." In the signs according to their father houses, that's where Bnei Yisrael was able to settle. So what is talking about the beis avosam from their father's houses? So Rashi explains that the the way that the tribes were all set up around the Mishkan actually took place many years earlier. When Yaakov gave instructions for his children to bring him to Eretz Yisrael, he actually laid out the plan about how all 12 of his sons would be in proximity to his Aron as it was being transferred back to Israel. So Hashem was telling Moshe that you remind Bnei Yisrael that they're going to be in a particular spot as they were all of those years earlier when Yaakov had given those original instructions. The Medrash actually adds a little bit of color to this conversation. According to the Medrash, Hashem gave Moshe instructions about where everybody should be, where all the Shvatim should be. And Moshe turned to Hashem and said, we're going to have a problem. You think they're going to listen to me? Why is each tribe going to take the specific spot that I'm telling them to take? They're going to say, well, I want to be closer to the opening of the Mishkan, or you want me to be next to that tribe. I want to be next to the other tribe, and I want to be in closer proximity to the water, to the main Miriam that's coming out, or whatever other concern that the Shvatim would have. So Hashem responded by saying, oh, that's okay. They're not going to argue. Just remind them that that's the instructions that Yaakov gave earlier. If you can remind them that they had already been in those spots earlier, they'll be okay and they'll be willing to accept those instructions. So Wynnewood takes a step back and says, "Whoa, what's going on here?" Moshe is saying, uh, Moshe is concerned that by telling Bnei Yisrael, Hashem gave these instructions about where you should be, he's afraid that that's not going to be accepted fully. But if you remind them that they already agreed to it when Yaakov gave the instructions a couple hundred years earlier, oh, so then they'll be okay and they're willing to accept it. How does that work psychologically? They're not going to listen to Hashem's instructions, but they will once they remember that Yaakov gave those same instructions earlier. So Henoch suggests that at this point, Moshe is coming to them and saying, this is going to be your permanent spot. And at that point, they're a little uncomfortable. Is this really the place that I want to be? Is this going to be a perfect spot? Why is Moshe appointing me to be here and not there? And those concerns are going to be raised. But if they recall that, no, 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 this is the way that it was before, and remember, it worked out okay in that previous episode. So then Bnei Israel would be willing would be willing to accept it and be willing to go along with that plan of Moshe. I was thinking in this period, so this is somewhat of a stressful time for many of us, whether it has to do with business concerns, economic concerns, issues with children being in the house or being home so often, or health concerns. And it's stressful, it's concerning. What's going to be? How am I going to get through this okay? How this particular challenge that perhaps is coming upon us. So perhaps it's good to recall the foundations that we have. We have a foundation already of being people that live with emunah, of being people that live with faith, of being people that are optimistic, and recognizing that things will ultimately be able to get better. So even though perhaps now we're in a stressful time about not knowing what's going to be about the various situations we find ourselves, if we could reflect back and remember, no, there were good times. There were good times. And at that point, I certainly felt Hashem was with me, and I certainly felt the ability to have emunah and to have proper faith. So as we'll be able to think about the future and be able to recognize that we're going to get through this, and things will be okay, and we'll rely on the strong foundation of emunah, of faith, and community, and chesed that we've had in the past, and that will hopefully be able to carry us into the future as well. I wish everybody a good Shabbos, and we hope to see everybody.